Hey, welcome to the Hired AV podcast. My name is Joe Way.
And my name is Britt Yenser.
And I almost forgot the line. And I am your host.
And I am your co-host / host. I don't know what I'm doing here.
You're doing better than me, that's for sure. And oh boy, do we have a good one for you today.
We sure do.
Yes. We're back. We're back for number two of this series. I don't know if we should tell people how many there are, because I already have it planned. You know what's amazing for being the most disorganized person? So people listened to the last episode, which of course they did, because why wouldn't you? They learned that my own employee Lex thinks that I'm the most disorganized person on earth, which is actually true. You probably, if you've been around HETMA enough in our meeting, you probably know that already. However, I actually have episodes lined up. We're doing 4 of these little series, and then we're going to have Dave Labuskas at HETMA at Infocom preview. And then I always do something, I don't know how long you've been following, but I always do a media stunt for the one right before Infocom. So that's coming up. This is planned out for like 7 weeks. That's crazy.
It's impressive.
That is for me. That is. But Infocom.
Yeah.
You excited?
It do be approaching. I'm excited.
And so what about what parts? Like, let's unpack it.
Yeah, well, I haven't had the opportunity to go to Infocom for several years now. I think the last time I was there was 17 or 18. So just to be able to experience it again, see all of the tech that has come out, engage in the educational stuff, I always enjoy doing that. And I'm excited to get into it because I haven't been able to for quite a while now. I'm also excited to see all the HETMA stuff and connect with all of my HETMA friends. I feel like I'm more excited for this Infocom than I was in the past because I feel like I actually know people now. And it's the social experience. I think it's going to be much better going into it, being like, I get to see people who I actually know, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that is the whole thing, right? I mean, that's one thing. Like, I think if you look at like the HETMA virtual conference, I mean, that even though that's kind of about learning, but it's also more about social. Somehow we turn this, this virtual thing into a social thing. And then you go to Infocom and now it's going to really be the social thing and all of the events and all of that stuff. And of course, having a booth. I'm going to do the best impression of me all week. Can I scan your badge? Can I scan your badge? Can I scan? Like, I'm going to give it back to every vendor who's ever given me hell. I'm going to find random people just walking and I'm just going to like zap. That's going to be the best.
Okay. Every time I walk past and be like, I was already scanned.
Yeah, let's just scan again. You just scan again. Because then it shows it's like customer repeat. Oh, they must really love us. Like I'm going to scan all our own people. Get in here. Oh yeah, I'm going to be so obnoxious. It'll be one. Well, which really will surprise nobody if I'm obnoxious. So you're going to be introduced to a couple of new things. The beach ball conch. Mm-hmm. The beach balls are coming. Okay. And my shoes. I have matching gloves to my shoes.
Go on.
So, I don't know if I should see again. Should I leave it as a those who know, and you'll have to experience it on your own?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that. It's if you know, you know. Mm-hmm. This is an incentive to get to Infocom or have a friend go to Infocom and tweet it to you or something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ooh, oh my gosh. Could this be like a scavenger hunt thing that we create?
But okay, yeah. You know what we did one year? I forget who did it. They did a. We're just gonna come up with. I thought we were done with HETMA ideas for Infocom.
I know,
but you know what? Let's just make up new ones. Where they did a AV selfie with people. Like that was your whole idea. You got to get a picture with all these random people. I think it was last year's Infocom, and someone put it out. And I really it was fun because, again, you get random people. Like, I know a lot of people, but I got random people walk up to me. Oh, it was maybe it was a bingo card or something. I don't remember what it was, but and then you had to get, selfies, and it was fun meeting new people and all this stuff. And I know there were people who would walk up to me who wouldn't normally, right? But then on the flip side, there's always who got left off and why are these the important people? By doing something like that, are you also saying, well, other people are important too.
Yeah. Well, our scavenger hunt can be to pull in the people who don't normally get to participate.
Oh, that would be good. That would be good. You could do it by like request and just get
Yeah.
people. That would be good. I like that. Um, but actually, I've been pretty. Have you been watching the HEPMA back end? I've been actually pretty. Do you see how much I did this weekend? Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm impressed and I'm really excited for some of the things. Like it's really coming together great.
And by the way, I'm pretty sure we're going to be the first ever group to ever give away a little coloring thing at Infocom, right? Let's be honest. Is not cool?
It's incredible. It looks great. It looks so fun. And it truly has a purpose. I just feel like you're going to walk away with some really valuable content.
And that's the Education Summit on Tuesday, 12:30. Sign up for it. Everybody sign up for it. Yeah. All right. So what are you looking forward to most besides the people? Like, what is your experience? What do you imagine the experience to be like?
Just, getting the opportunity to actually learn new things because I feel like I've come out of my shell or forced myself out of my shell in a way that it's like, if I don't understand it, I'm going to actually ask until I do understand it. So I feel like I'm going into it with a true growth mindset and a true learning mindset that maybe I haven't had in the past. And then I also will be taking the CTS exam at Infocom, which I can't say I'm like super thrilled, excited about because, I am nervous about it. But I'm excited just to prove to myself that I can sit for the exam no matter what the outcome of that is.
Yeah, you're going to rock it. I think you're going to rock it. You feel confident?
I feel pretty confident. So, before I started my studying journey, and to like speak to my journey too, I'm a PRISM scholar. So for those who apply for and receive the PRISM scholarship, 100% do that. It was incredible. And so at the start of it, I went online, I took a practice exam and I got a 70. And then I did all of the AVIXA modules and all of the like mentorship meetings and read the CTS exam guide. And those were all things that were given to me through the PRISM scholarship. And then I just took a practice exam this weekend to see where am I at after doing all of that. And I was at a 77. So I'm like, okay, that's a pretty significant growth. And I'm very, very close to the passing score with a few months to go. So like now I can look at what did I do wrong in the exam, which was very much not knowing the content. It was overthinking the question. So, like let me go back, review what I missed and get into the mindset of the way the exam asks things. And then that makes me feel pretty confident.
Yeah. That's good, by the way. I know. I'm excited to see all of our PRISM people and our non-PRISM. Others are still studying for it too, who might actually, to take it and see everybody pass. And it's exciting. I love because what it is more, it's about developing our vertical and seeing, to me. I remember the journey 5 years or so ago when we didn't get the respect, at Infocoms. Maybe it's been a little longer than that. And now to see that higher ed is a force. And part of it is because we're doing the things that professionals do, right? The other parts of the AV industry have said, have to go in and, they have to study. They have to become masters of their craft. We have had a reputation, and rightfully so, to not have to be the people out of the library media room who just go and plug in HDMI cables. Well, I love the fact seeing our people get certified because it says, no, we're part of this club and we're a big part of it. And that's what I love about it to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reality is we do understand the technology that we are operating. And sometimes placing or installing, so yeah, I agree with that 100%. We do belong in the wider industry, and I think that the certification is important. I know for me, it does help me a lot to mitigate some of the imposter syndrome if I have the CTS, because it does seem to me like, okay, this did become at some point in my journey a formal course of study. And I do have this certification to say like, look, I do in fact understand things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we all do. And I think that's one of the things that I've heard a lot from our vendors and our sponsors, our industry partners, especially since now this series. Oh, by the way, this series can also be found on AVIXA TV. Um, and this previous series to this one was in interviewing all of our kind of industry partners, our industry champions, and those people who aren't in higher ed, but those we require those relationships to be successful. And one of my takeaways over that 5 weeks, whatever it was just like how much respect we've gotten as a vertical. Right. Like I could genuinely see that and hear in everybody's voice. Now, granted, two of the people were formerly from higher ed, so they should, like it. But just the sense of, hey, yeah, no, you're one of us. And that's one of the things that I think is important. And that's always kind of been my mission, is to get us that respect and to earn that respect, even through the death threats.
Oh yeah. So we can circle back to that if you want. But what I was thinking was, speaking of respect and understanding, what is your department called on your campus?
Learning environments.
That's interesting. Okay. Because mine is the media services department. And when you were talking about, integrators and other people in the industry seeing us as the people in the library, the media people, I'm like, yeah, because we're media services, which is so irritating to me. It's such an old timey term that I feel like really does not represent what we do. And yet I do find at a lot of institutions, it is still named in some media something. Why? Yeah. Why are we still doing this to ourselves?
I know. Well, I'm sure it's the legacy of, like, in higher ed, it was the librarians that were pushing the TVs on carts around, right? That's where the VCR, and the tapes were left, and that's where you checked them out, and that's where it started from. And I think that's an old, because that was the media section of the library.
Right.
And then we've just never, gotten past that in a lot of instances. And those, yeah, and it is just so different. You would never, do you ever see a professional integrator calling themselves the media department?
I can't say that I have.
See, there's your petition to change your. So I actually have a petition. I want to change my department's name. I don't like it. Learning environment, it's fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, except it's a lot of letters to type out. So director, there's a lot of letters.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to change it for something that's actually longer. I want to be the Office of Educational Technology. See, doesn't that sound great? Doesn't it? Like, maybe it's just but I want to be the director of the Office of Educational Technology.
Now, if you use the words Office of Educational Technology, do you feel like that fully encompasses everything that you do?
I think so. I think so. I think it can, because I think everything is education. And I definitely, when people ask me, what do you do? I'm like, well, if it plugs into the wall, it probably falls under my team, And so I think so. Because also what it does, the issue with learning environments is I think it made sense pre-pandemic. Because if the learning environment was easy, it's those four walls, whatever happens inside there. Well, now that we're doing virtual learning and all that stuff, it's more of it's a digital era that we're in, not yes, it's an environment, right? And I don't want to take away from that, but I think there's a difference. And that's why I like the idea educational technology can encompass, or digital something can encompass so much more, whether it be because I don't want to limit it to the physical space, but the actual learning that happens.
Are there educational technologists or instructional designers on your team?
I don't have any instructional designers who actually do the curriculum, but I do have Adeline on my team, and her job is faculty training, faculty support, faculty feedback, to bring that to our team to inform us of kind of, where we're at, then figure out where to go from there.
Yeah.
So sort of?
Yeah.
Sort of.
I was just wondering because, I'm just kind of picking apart the words where it's like, okay, use the word educational. That makes me think of educational technologist. Is that person's role actually in your department, or would that be confusing? That's just how my brain goes.
But speaking of taking out words, oh my gosh, you should. We talked about naming Hetma.
Oh,
BC and I, it was so hilarious. Okay, we literally threw down every word we can think of and put them into different. Like you, like I'm sorry, but naming an org is a lot harder than people would think.
I bet.
And we were sitting, we're like throwing all this stuff down. We got lists of, okay, well, what are we, this and this? And there were so many things. And, and then you're like spelling it out and you're like, well, what does it sound like? And then we finally landed, Hetma. That actually kind of is like a word. I think it's its own
Yeah.
word. We can make a word out of this.
Yeah.
And the debates we had between the A. Most people think it's association, but it's not. It's an alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
Would
I
you?
like the word alliance. I think that it is relevant to the nature of the organization.
Exactly. See?
Yeah.
Exactly. Even though we get misquoted all the time. And then I'll read it and stuff. And like, even in publications, people should know by now to fact check, double check. But I'll see it that way. But it's okay.
And they should not ask AI because according to AI, Hetma has something to do with tractors. So,
And have you been to a tractor pull?
so I actually have not been to a tractor pull. No.
Because we totally forgot that we need to have a tractor pull.
Yeah, that is going to be part of it for us.
All right. So I guess, so what's interesting, so we're talking Infocom, we're going there. It's you and Craig there as the two directors. You're
Yeah,
both going Infocom.
we
You're
are.
going to shut down the whole campus?
No, I wish. I wish that we could. No, so unfortunately, we're leaving the audiovisual specialist behind. So bye-bye, Zach. Zach has to hold down the fort for us because we do still have things actively happening on campus at that time. And, luckily, Zach is my direct report. So he is in the weeds with me supporting events. So it's right neatly in his role of what he's supporting while we're gone. I believe that week is summer fair, which is a like registration event for first year students. And then as soon as Craig and I get back, we're going to be hit with Synod. So Zach will probably be prepping for Synod so that when I get back, it's not like the episode of Community where he walks in with pizzas and there's fire everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it like when I was at Cal Baptist, I'm trying to figure out how to continue this question and conversation. We were a 2-person band there between Randy and I.
Yeah.
And we had a rule that neither of us could leave at the same time. That was our CIO. So that was actually hard, even though we may have kind of cheated it a little bit at times. But is there a fear, and is this like the big school versus the little school thing? Like, I'm bringing out, I think 7 of my 12 or so are coming out to Infocom, but which leaves plenty back. But of course, we have tons of resources. Is there a legit fear that things could turn south? Is there something like, I don't know, like, or is it?
I don't think so. We're lucky in that in the summer months, things do significantly slow down versus what's happening during the academic year. That's just the rhythm that we fall into. This summer is more busy than usual, I think, because we don't always have Synod on campus. So, it's unfortunate that Zach's going to have to prep for this thing that doesn't always happen. It just kind of fell that way. But no, I fully trust that he's going to be able to support, especially because there's a lot of pre-planning in place. When you're doing live events, when you're kicking off, everything that you could have thought of has already been put into place in some way. So it's really just him taking my scope of work and directions as the director and enacting it while I'm away. So yeah, I'm not too worried. And, as far as Craig and I both being at director level and us both leaving, the way our department is structured is really interesting. So Craig is the director of AV engineering, and he actually reports to the back half of IT, the other engineers and programmers. And then I'm director of event technology, and I report to front of house, which is a separate assistant CIO focusing on client success. So really our roles, like as much as we work together and support each other on paper, we're separate.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
And you guys you have offices right next to each other.
We do.
That's kind of rad. Well, I guess that makes
Yeah.
it good. It's interest. It's an interesting setup.
Yes. Yeah.
And you report,
But it isn't, because at the end of the day, we are the AV people for the campus, regardless of title or who we report to or what we do. So we do try as a courtesy to not be out at the same time, just because we do so often work as informal backup for each other. But the series just how the cookie crumbles. So, we're both both directors off to Infocom. And it's rare that happens. There was one very funny time that Craig and I both got called for jury duty on the same day at the same time.
were you on the same trial?
I don't know. We both got called, but it's that situation where like you're called and then you have to like report and be like, "Do you need me?" And it turns out they didn't need us. So I don't know. Yeah.
How awesome would that be if you were on the same trial together?
It would have been so cool. I was really hoping for it. And like being a true crime fan, I was like, "Oh, I hope this is interesting and I hope we can both do this." But no.
Are there any ties between true crime and event technology?
Not that I know of offhand, but I'm sure there probably is.
Yeah, I mean, there's if you follow like AV disasters and stuff on it, like
Oh,
those
yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's got to be someone who's got hit by a projector or the big what? I know we're gonna turn south here, but it
Yeah.
wasn't an accident. Like
Okay.
if you're gonna kill somebody, not that I'm saying that, I'm just saying, think about it, an AV accident. In a way, you could blame it on other people and just say
Yeah.
that the tech was not, good at their job. Like,
Do
if
you
I
need to
weren't an
take a
AV
moment and write this down as your like retirement thing? Like in retirement, you're going to write this book.
the 99 ways to kill people with AV.
Yep.
Well, I mean, obviously you've got XLR cables to start with, right? So you could, you know what? That would be it. That would actually, I'm willing to bet that book would sell.
Oh, I'm sure it would. And then also it could expand to a board game a la Clue. It was Ryan Gray in the library with the XLR cable.
Oh, you know what? I could see that.
Yeah.
Would that be Ryan Gray's weapon of choice? So we're going to ask the audience now. See,
Ooh.
there's an ask the audience of what would this is going to be proof whether or not you listened to this episode, because now, or at least you got 22 minutes into it. What would your weapon of choice be?
Yeah.
And how weapon of choice? Yes. I
Yeah.
think we've got something. This really turned dark, and this is on AVIXA television.
Sorry. We can't help that we're such a powerful think tank. And you know what? Honestly, I'm not sorry. You're welcome for this great board game idea.
Yeah. Now I feel like I want to go through all of our AV people and figure out what they would. What would you? What would yours be?
A speaker, because real easy to fall off a wall,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like it. I already know mine. Mine's pretty easy because it's happened. I didn't die. But let's say, hypothetically, of course, you were working in a church, hypothetically, and you needed to go up and change a lamp in one of the park hands, hypothetically. And it's 26 feet in the air, but you only have a 20-foot ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing you're 6 feet tall. And so let's say you happen to set and you were going to stand on the top, right?
Yeah, allegedly.
And if you happen to live in California, you wear flip-flops.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. And let's say hypothetically you electrocuted yourself while you were up there. And you want to talk about grabbing onto a bar for dear life and letting go. Yeah. I all the flashes in my head. Yeah. And so that's how a real life situation right there. On the ladder, breaking OSHA regulations.
In this
in the worship
purely
center. Oh, dang.
In this purely hypothetical situation, is it comforting in a way that you're in a church when this happens.
Well, you know what? Quick way to the end right there. Fast track through the pearly gates. So, yeah, I didn't do that again. Let's just say I did not do that again. And from the ground, it didn't look like the gap. The gap didn't look that big from the ground. And then once you're all the way up there, you're kind of pot committed. And now you've kind of got one lamp and you unscrew it. And it was when I grabbed the bar, and that's where I got electrocuted. And then you have to like figure out how I'm going to take this lamp and I'm going to put it like, this is where video is good. And then I got to like put it under this arm while I can take the other lamp out. Right. And you can't just drop it. Right. And then you're standing and you got to figure out, now I got to crouch, figure out how to get down from this thing. But I also say the flip-flops, though, it adds like color to the story. But Californians, we rock our flip-flops. Really, you can do anything in flip-flops.
Can you? Because you almost died.
But I didn't.
Okay. I'll take it.
So there you go. So do you have any like mad stories, disaster stories? Not, and it doesn't have to be life-threatening.
Yeah. I don't think I do. I think this might be a man versus woman situation right now. And like, as a woman, I feel like I do not put myself in situations where I might die.
Why we die sooner. I will say, though, I have never done that again. And I do follow all OSHA regulations for my employers now. And I highly encourage all of my staff to be safe.
Yes. Safety is the number one priority.
Yeah,
yes.
It was just one of those things, Now and it was the can was right there on the past, like it was dead center of the pulpit. So if that one didn't get changed, you know what I mean? And it went out an hour before, sir. Everything goes.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta go do it. So hence the show goes. Got to go on when you're in live events.
It does. But I just feel like for me, if I go to do something and I feel like it's not working, I will backtrack and be like, let's find a different way to approach this. And I feel like in this situation, you allegedly you just went for it anyway. I think you knew in your head, like, this is not going to work out for me. And you're like, well, but I'm already here.
Pretty much. Yeah, allegedly, if it were to have happened.
Yes.
Only once, though. Only once it would have happened. All right, so I love the idea of the game. I feel like we should list everybody. No, we're going to make everybody else tweet out, make comments, and decide how they would, we got it. This game's going to be good. I know we can't have any more Infocom ideas, but boy, there's got to be I was the XLR cable in the ladder. I was the ladder.
Yeah.
Ladder electrocuted on the ladder.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. All right. So so you said you would step back and rethink it. What is your leadership style then? How do you lead your department? What are your kind of goals of how you take your team and stuff?
Yeah, I like to think of myself as someone who is thoughtful, who takes the time to sit back and see the larger picture. I think it's really important to see the forest from the trees as often as you can, because it's really easy, especially when you're in the rhythm of the year where it's heightened, there's a lot going on. It's easy to stop seeing what you're really supposed to be seeing. So, I tried to analyze a little bit and see who's doing what by when. My favorite question, who's doing what by when, and what did they need from me in order to be successful? And I try to help other people to be thoughtful too. So I recently gave Zach the direction that I want him to start journaling. And I told him, like, I'm not going to read it. You can do it however you want. You can handwrite it. I don't care. I don't care what you do. It doesn't have to be full sentences. It can be bullet points. Whenever I say journal to you, whatever that means to you, that's what you do. But as you journal, I want you to be thinking about interactions that you had with a student employee. After you met with that student or trained that student, what were some of the things that were said that stood out to you? What do you think went well? What do you think you could improve for next time? After you work an event, what went well? What do you think you can improve for next time? What are some of the things that you said to the client and that they said to you? Just start like jotting things down so that when we meet for a one-on-one, we can identify more clearly what is going well and what is not going well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answered your question. I feel like you just started rambling
no,
about.
that is good. It's interesting. Again, proof that you are much more organized than I am. First off, having one-on-ones, I do mini groups. I don't do one-on-one.
Okay.
They can request a one-on-one, but I've always like it's one of those. How do you do an effective one? Like I've never had a manager or whatever who's done an effective one-on-one, so maybe I'm not good at them. So I have my core team, and I meet as a core team. We have a discussion, and if somebody wants my time, doesn't mean they can't have it. Just book a meeting with me, but then that means it has a purpose, because I think
right.
Yeah.
So for me, each one-on-one has a distinct purpose because they all have an agenda. We have a running agenda, just this constantly going Google Doc, but it's the date at the top, and then we are hitting specific things each time. So we're always going to start with an overall wellness check-in. I'm going to ask, how are you? Are you okay? How is your family? How is your partner? Let's ground ourselves in the fact that we're human beings, and I want to make sure that you're good. And if you're not good, I want to point you to resources, especially because Zach is new to our area. So it's like, okay, you're not feeling well. Did you know there's a Minute Clinic on that street? Whatever, just like get the lay of the land as humans. And then it's essentially like upcoming events, points that we absolutely have to cover because it's too complex for email. How are the students doing? Talk about their training, talk about managing them, talk about his professional development goals. How is he doing with that? And, what's missing? Like what I thought this is what we had to cover. What do you think we have to cover? That's where his journaling stuff really comes into play heavy there then, because he can tell me what he needs to talk about. So yeah, just like having a purposeful agenda, knowing what it is you want to talk about, and getting through that. Yeah.
Oh, and you really do all that in every meeting? Like you run
Yes.
through all of I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah. And so, yeah. See, I think I do it in different ways. I don't do it in a meeting, but I definitely do it in different ways because, I'm always for people improving themselves, getting out there, getting the training, that. Like I always say, my job is to get them the resources and then get out of their way. That's it. When we get you your resources, you need to be successful, but you got to tell me. I won't know. Got to be, so I try to build that relationship to where they can tell me and say, here's, we actually have a channel in our Slack that we call, learn it needs. Tell me what you need. And if you tell me what you need, let's go get it. And it can be as simple as we're out of markers for this classroom, or it can be, we need this training course to be successful here and blah, blah, blah. Can you book it? And can you get us to the headquarters or whatever? You know what I mean? Like it can go, but here's a channel. Hopefully they can tell me, but we're always so busy, we utilize tools to do that. And I think that's where, yeah, I like that. It's so interesting, the different leadership styles, yet still both successful,
Right. One thing that I do too, which I feel like this is a very like type A hyper organized thing to do, but it's called a manager's landscape. And so you have a page for each of your employees with columns of who is this person at work? What is important for me to know about them? What do I want or need to talk to them about? How do I talk to this person most effectively? So, are they a person who, if I ask a question, how are they going to respond? And that's a really interesting thing too, because there are certain groups of people who will pose a direction as a question, but not everyone will receive it as a direction. They might receive it as a question. So for example, Joe, can you get that coffee cup for me? That's either you can take that as a direction, like, oh, she wants me to go get the coffee cup. Or you can take that as something that you're answering, like a question, like, no, I can't do that right now, whatever. So like, how do I talk to that person? And where do I talk to that person? Are we always meeting in the office? Should we go get coffee someday? Like just really thinking through the ins and outs of who that human is who's reporting to you.
Yeah, I'm a question asker leader. I am, because like someone comes to me with a problem here. This, and my first response is, "Great. How do you think you should handle that? How are you going to fix
Right.
that? What are you going to do, or what are we going to do? Right? It depends. It doesn't have to honestly go back to them, but I want someone who brings a problem to me to really think, and they probably have. It lets me first off know, have they really thought it through? Because maybe the response is, well, I already tried A, B, C, D, E, and I'm stuck, and that's why I'm coming to you. And there's,
Mm.
okay, great. Now let's work this out together. Or maybe they're just wanting to just bring a problem. They really haven't thought it out. They haven't gone, what is the information needed? How are we going to solve that? So, always goes right back to when you said about doing the podcast, doing something different. You should do it. And then my first thing was, when are you coming on? Right? It's
Yeah.
throw it back to a question. So I'm a question leader.
Yeah, and I love that. I do think that we can get so much out of questions, and I think the more leaders ask good questions, like, okay, what are you going to do about that? Good question. We're putting that person into action. I think the more we ask why is really powerful and
Yeah.
a little bit playful too. Like tap into that childlike wonder of yourself and ask why instead of assuming, because you might think that this problem that they're bringing to you, like your opinion of that might be totally different from their own. So to put the assumption out and ask first, why do you think that's a problem?
Yeah. Yeah.
And okay, and how do you intend to solve it?
Absolutely. And then you got to finish up with, and what do you need from me to help you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because
Yes.
obviously they're coming for a reason, or they would just do their job and they would do it and they wouldn't be coming. So you can't downplay someone coming to you with a problem. Obviously, it's something that they're struggling with. But I think that there's always these leadership, the development opportunities, and then being there for them. And hopefully when they say, I need this, and commit to it, we're pot committed, gotta make it happen for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. All right. Insert awkward silence. Okay, so are you a question, or you're all right? I'm really back to interested in this whole rundown. And how long are your one-on-ones? Are we like a half hour?
It depends on how much is happening at the time. They're scheduled for an hour. So we will never go past an hour. They often end up being 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes we do take the whole hour depending on how much there is to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. I love, and I think the hard part is, like I always look at it, the more direct reports you have, the harder it is to block that time because people are busy. But
Yeah.
it is important, and I think that building those leadership and development channels is a challenge. And I think as our role as leaders is what's important. Obviously continuing to drive vision, continuing to get resources, but also making sure that it's. I think the hardest part is those who the out of sight, out of mind, the quiet people can get forgotten.
Yeah.
What how do you handle that? How do you find those who are, and especially if they're doing their job well, right? If they're doing their
Mhm.
job and they're not causing, issues and concerns, and you don't necessarily have to pay,
Yeah. No, always honestly check in extra hard to the children who are a pleasure to have in class because I, I think that those people might easily be silently struggling with something, and there might be something inside of them that's telling them they have to succeed in this certain way. They might be putting pressure on themselves that is unwarranted or too much. Yeah, I definitely check in on those people even more to make sure like you're not burning yourself out, are you?
Yeah, that I think that is true. And let's talk about you brought him up a bunch of times. This Zach guy. I mean, you don't realize you have a duty now. Like he better bring some good. So, here's the good thing. So you got to bring him back a whole bag of swag, right? I mean, if he's staying
Mhm.
back, but I always look at it this way. Maybe it's my own, self consciousness or something. You bring your team back swag, and you mean it to be good, but is it also look what you missed out on?
No, I don't. I think it depends on your love language and like how you show care to others. I feel like it's interesting. Zach and I are very similar in having a primary love language be gifts. So
Mm,
like, he will just get me a coffee one day and then I'll get him a coffee the next day. And it's always like a little surprise, unwarranted, just to be like, here you go. I thought of you, my funny little friend. I hope this brightens your day. So I feel like he would feel good about swag because he likes to receive and give gifts.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's good. And he sounds like a great guy.
He is great. So my challenge with Zach is like, he is not on social media. He's just like living his life the way people used to. I find it fascinating. If anything, I would love to open a case study on Zach.
I'm so jealous. I just want to live my life like we used to.
Yeah, I am a little jealous. There are some times where I want to throw my phone into the ocean, if we're gonna be honest. And he never feels that way because he's just like out there living his life. But I do wish that I could bully him into Twitter or like LinkedIn at least. Like,
oh, not even LinkedIn. Wow. So
he's
wow.
Yeah.
Can't even tag him as getting a shout out.
And that's the
unless
thing.
he listens, he'll have no idea this happened.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. That's I can't imagine a life not like I have way too many accounts like that I go into notification hell when I'm cross tagged myself. So yes.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't know because I feel like I'm a millennial and I was definitely told not to talk to strangers on the internet. That was a big deal. Clearly I learned nothing from that lesson and here we are. But so I don't know what they taught Gen Z. Like, was he just like bubble wrapped as a young person? Like he really took to heart, don't talk to strangers on the internet.
Yeah. And wow, I'm kind of jealous. I'm not going to lie. All right. So have you, now that you have multiple Twitter accounts,
no.
have you gotten into notification hell of accident? Like, here's the best part: when you do it to yourself, or you tag your own other account, and then you respond to your own other account.
Yeah, it's a little. I don't know. It feels like expounding of a mental illness. I don't know. We're just like talking to myself, and how long am I going to do this? And yeah, it's very odd. It's very odd. I don't, it is what it is. I feel like I don't do it unless I feel like it's truly purposeful. And I also don't do it unless I'm in the mindset of wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you're trapped, like you're doing it even if you don't really want to?
Yeah. And and I kind of have, between, my personal and Hetma, I try to do because if Hetma, I do only to post stuff, and then if people tag it, I'll just do the retweet. So that one I'm a little less, but like with Hired, like I have to get something out every day. And personal, I don't, but like I feel like with the brand, like something. Well, and there's content coming out practically every day, so it's like I'm always in that mode. Like I said when I was on your show. Of my morning routine is get out there and get something going. And I can find that like first hour is just gone, especially between putting something there and then someone comments on it. Now I got to comment on, and it's like, and I love it because again, it's a good place to be. Most people can't get to a place where they can have that kind of influence and there's an audience. So I can't complain about it too much, but yeah.
Okay. Can I challenge you though? Because I always find it interesting when people use the word have. I have to do this. Do you really have to?
Oh, you know what? All right, I feel triggered. I feel challenged here. You know what? I'm gonna go. The correct answer is no, but I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
How about that? And here's why. Because I have a larger goal in mind, especially when it comes, like I build my personal brand in order to develop Hetma, right? I don't need it. Now, do I have to do it for me? No, right? I could disappear and just do my, right? But I also believe that Hired AV and Hetma can impact more lives and help more people. So building my brand is an important part to get eyes on that. In that sense, I have to.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
So there we go. It's
a part of your personal mission.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and yes, I'm taking that. That answer is standing.
Okay. I accept it. For me, I feel like there are certain things I have to do, because for me it's I'm a finish what you started, see things through sort of person. So now it's like, well, I have to continue with Brave Space. I have to post on there at least once a week. I'm not a person who feels like I have to push this into the zeitgeist hardcore and do this daily. Like, I don't feel like I have to do that, but I do like my commitment to it is what I'm able to give to it for it to be a good thing. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
know that's my thought on that.
We'll check back in a year when you're fully in and
Yeah.
absorbed, which you already are. You got the trophy for like
Oh.
when you jumped into Twitter, like, whoa, that was like, usually people ease in. You're like, nope, here we go. We're memes and all, GIFs and all.
Yeah. I feel like that has a lot to do with being able to be my authentic self there. Like, I felt safe enough to be like, yeah, this is me. This is what I think is funny. This is how I would respond to this, and just jump in.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you've done good. We're at 46 minutes and 2 seconds, and we haven't done the rapid round to end this,
Okay.
to
All
land
right.
this. All right. So one question again.
All right. Do you want to go first this time?
I'll go first. Since we already talked about killing people with in the game of Clue, what
Yes.
was your favorite board game as a child or thing you did as a family? The multi-part.
Okay. All right. So I was an only child.
Yes.
And my parents were older. So my favorite board game we played as a kid was Parcheesi. Is this look of shock because you are familiar with Parcheesi, or because you're like, what the hell?
Yes. Well, first off, I have heard it. I have no idea what it is. So can you do the radio version of what is this game?
I mean, it's just like a board game where you get 4 little pieces and you have to get them around to home. And you like roll dice to move your pieces, but then there are all these extra rules. Like, if there's 2 pieces in a space, you can't pass. And like, if you roll doubles, you get to do some special thing. I don't know. And I'm sure we had house rules that were just ours and like are not real rules. So that's why I'm not going to keep going on about the rules of Parcheesi, because I don't really know what's real and what we made up.
All over the place. That is not how you play.
I am a Parcheesi enthusiast, and I can tell you for a fact.
So what's funny? All right, so I went to Metaverse Expo in Vegas last year, and it was in the main one of the halls. Like, but it's not. It's new. I mean, Metaverse stuff is new, so it was only took up half the hall. And then they had like a drape. And then on the other half of the hall was a puzzle convention.
Ooh.
I know, just people sitting there putting puzzles together. Like, it wasn't even selling puzzles. It was putting them together. And then like you framed it when you got done. You could walk around like this whole, but you want to talk about 2 very different audiences, Metaverse stuff and the puzzle people. All in the same. And you can walk in any door of the Vegas Convention Center and then walk down. Like, you didn't have, it was classic.
That sounds delightful, honestly. I would love to just sit down and build a puzzle.
Yeah, we do. My wife brought it in, with she did with her kids when we got married, and they do a puzzle every Christmas. And they buy one, and it has to be like a Thomas Kincaid or something like that, one of those brands, and they do it every year.
It's nice.
So my wife had a little bit of withdrawals now that we're empty nesters, that there was no one to do a puzzle with. She did it on her own then.
Why didn't you help with the puzzle?
I only do one piece. I steal one, and so I can put the last one in.
It's nice. Do you hide it in the Christmas tree?
No, there's a certain point where you realize there's only like 100 left, and you can just, stick it in your pocket. They're about 2 hours away from finishing, and there you go.
Did you ever like accidentally lose the piece?
I have not.
Okay.
I haven't, but pieces get lost, and then the cats knock them off the table and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yes, I'm mean, like, but I don't actually put it in because that would be rude. I just hide it, and then I play with it, and then I go, here you go, so they can put it in.
So you don't come in and be like, and now I completed it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. Yeah. I'm not that mean. I'm mean, but not that mean. It's all
okay.
It's all fun and games.
It's all good. It's all good. Speaking of fun and games, here's my question for you. What is your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie and why?
Oh, good one. Well, all right. So, we have the Schwarzenegger Institute here. So the public policy here at USC. So that's got to work on his auditorium. So that was kind of fun. So there's a fun fact. It has to go to the Terminator 2, whatever, because it's got the Guns N' Roses song "You Could Be Mine," and obviously I've got here. I don't know if you can see, but like. I got my start, all the band members here signed this. I've got Slash guitar behind me. So, you know, that has to be that, but not because of Schwarzenegger, but because of the theme song.
Right. All right. You have a personal connection to it, so I will accept your answer. For anyone else, though, the correct answer is twins.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew that's where you were going to go. That's what everybody has to say, but... Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm not a big Danny DeVito fan, though.
It's just so funny. I don't know.
He is, and that was a good movie. So that was all right. Yeah, I'll accept it. It's the wrong answer, but I'll accept it.
Okay.
All right. I guess to me, mine was the wrong answer to you, but you accept it.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah. And I'll accept your Parcheesi just because I did not see that coming. Didn't see it coming. You know what we forgot to do? Well, thank you everybody for watching us on AVIXA Television. And not Higher Ed AV. We didn't say people how to get a hold of us last time.
Oh, you can't. We're just specters in the wind.
Yeah, no need to get. I mean, technically, if they're watching, they're listening, they probably already know how to get a hold of us. So it's always kind of that weird, like, how do you get a hold? Well, they probably know, unless you're like on somebody else, like a webinar thing, right?
Right.
What's a show? They probably know, but they can find you
at Brave Brit on Twitter, and also Brave Space is my podcast's Twitter, and then I'm also on LinkedIn under Britt Yenser.
Yay! And me at Josiah Way, and Hired AV at Hired AV,
and about 17,000 other Twitter accounts, but we're not going to list them. You have to find that's part of your scavenger hunt journey.
The scavenger hunt. Find all of them. My book has its own Twitter account, but I never go on to it. But there we go. Yeah. All right. We need to end this thing. So
okay.
Do you want to end it again? You did so good.
Sure.
There you go. Music's playing.
All right. You are listening to the Higher Ed AV Media Podcast. Thank you for joining us. The opinions expressed here were our own and not representative of our institutions. And if you did not like our opinions here, there might be better ones next time. Neat.